because we've got some breaking news this morning from Venezuela, where there have been explosions in the capital, Caracas. Let's get some details from Defence Editor at The Standard, Robert Fox, who joins us now. What do we know at this early stage, Robert?
Well, the details are sketchy but dramatic in that there have been widespread explosions at an airport and military bases, and aircraft have been reported overhead. There has been no declaration from the United States, and yet we have had demands for the past weeks, as we know, that Nicolas Maduro should leave office in Venezuela, and that his position was illegitimate. His re-election was corrupt, and it now seems that America is going ahead with some kind of military operation. That is my conjecture, because there has been no admission. But this is obviously military, professional, organised, and there has been continuous pressure now for months, for 2 or 3 months, from America, mainly on the excuse or justification that Venezuela is a drug hub, a major source of drugs. It isn't quite as big as made out, but the main contention seems to be about oil, about Venezuelan oil, which Trump has accused has been illegitimately obtained, again, from other people, including American interests. This does seem to be a major development, possibly so far the major military development in the second Trump administration, and the implications could be enormous.
I know this only happened some minutes ago, but do we know anything about... I mean, clearly Caracas is the capital city, but do we know anything about the targets? I mean, would they be military targets or random?
They appear to be military, but hereby is a problem in that there is a large military, but there is also almost as big. Nicolas Maduro relies on a militia in which he is very well embedded and very well supported. The problem is that if you see this, if this is an external operation by American forces, are they going to put boots on the ground? If they go in, is it, as Colin Powell famously remarked, the former general, the former Secretary of State, once you break a thing, you own it? And the problem with this kind of intervention, could it be produce the kind of open-ended problem that the incursion into Iraq, in which Britain was involved in 2003, led to? And it led to 10 years of war and tremendous boost from ISIS. I'm not talking about ISIS here, of course, but Venezuela is very unstable, but it's unstable at the heart of a very unstable region. And this is the big question here. There has been an enormous build-up of American forces throughout the region over the last 2 or 3 months, since the late summer.
This interruption is brought to you by ExpressVPN and their New Year deal. New Year, new VPN. And a huge saving of up to 80% if you act now. You're busy planning how to get in shape, but the hackers are planning how to get into your accounts. ExpressVPN locks down your connection so you can start the year protecting your data. This offer ends on the 7th of January, so scan the QR code or click the link in the description now.
Robert, can I just ask you about the situation with Iran then, in the light of this? Because the White House has threatened Iran over these protests that have been going on, and the fact that protesters have been shot and captured and what have you, and issued a stern warning that America would intervene. Well, that's sort of been dismissed by Iran so far. In the light, will that change in the light of this, if this does prove to be a US action?
Well, of course, he's got a bit of a problem there, because that he's made a big commitment there, that perhaps there's too much going on. But oddly, he has connected Iran with Venezuela, and he has accused Iran of shipping in air defense missiles to help the Maduro regime. So that is another complexity. And of course, there has been rising tension to add to this in and around Taiwan. So there's a lot moving there. There has been main effort in obviously Ukraine over the question of getting a ceasefire there. And Gaza, that just seems to me, I'm really, thinking he has got an awful lot on his plate, particularly when we had a declaration at the end of November in the new national security strategy, which was really a manifesto saying that it's America first and for America only in its own region. Well, there's a lot of global activity, but there are thousands of troops and military personnel and dozens of ships involved in the Venezuelan confrontation. We can't call it a war yet. There has been no official communication from the White House that it is America involved, but a comprehensive military operation, which is what we're looking at, can, I think, only come from one source.
This is a reminder to anyone watching, as we are now, from Europe, that America has other problems on its borders, doesn't it? And here we see Donald Trump actually addressing those. If I were in Ukraine, I'd be very worried that his attention has been diverted.
Which is easily diverted, exactly. And of course, the military build-up, which has been so spectacular, or the conspicuous one, should I say, since he returned to power just under a sliver of a few days of under a year ago. A lot of the main effort has been on Venezuela, and it must be said that Venezuela was deemed a problem as way by his predecessors, including Biden, but above all Obama, and saw the sort of the lawlessness, the subversion emanating from, first of all, the Chavez regime and then his anointed successor, Nicolas Maduro, that has been seen as a major problem. It's been an issue for decades for successive incumbents of the White House. But we now have to wait. It'll just be a matter of minutes, or I suppose an hour at most, before we get clarification of what is actually going on. And if it is America, the White House must declare its aim. By the way, if it goes on, if there is confrontation, a hot confrontation, he will have to consult Congress within 40 days under the terms, if they still are valid, of the old the not so old, of the War Powers Act. A tough opening to the new year for the US and for its allies, it must be said, because, as you said, this will affect America's posture as leader of NATO and America's effectiveness in what it's doing in Europe.
We're down to the last 90 seconds or so, Robert. I mean, if this was to achieve what we would at least perceive to be the aims of the United States and getting Maduro out, it begs the question how stable a country like Venezuela would be, knowing that there had been regime change forced upon them.
It raises exactly the question that was raised in Iraq in 2003. As I said, once you've broken a thing, you own it. And therefore, they thought that they could establish order and a regime, but the army turned against them and was dissolved, and they de-Baathified. So they took away the whole of the administration. I don't know whether there is anybody can come in and take over. Venezuela has one of the best healthcare schemes and hospital schemes in South America. So it is not entirely primitive. It should be very rich because of its enormous oil reserves. But in fact, it's been impoverished by Chavez and Maduro, and that's one of the big gripes. But it's very interesting how the leaders of the opposition, including the president-elect, have stood to one side in this up to now. And it is very, very much, whatever is going on, as we're seeing in front of us, it's very much America's game.
OK, Robert, for now, thanks very much.